this summit was a first step. What President Trump gave in exchange for this promise wasn't something that can't be undone and isn't something that's going to significantly loosen any sort of restriction on the North Korean economy at this time.
That's right, and two important differences from years past. Normally, the U.S. and the West would offer enticements to get the North Koreans even to come to the table, right? So either food aid, sanctions relief, or sometimes just straight cash. You didn't have that situation this time. In fact, it was quite the opposite. We ramped up pressure to the likes never seen before from the international community, led by the United States. And we've offered no sort of relief to any of those sanctions, and now it's all up to the North Koreans as to how they progress, and over time perhaps we can come to a place where we lessen those sanctions as they continue a good faith negotiation.
Right. At this point, I mean, this could go either way. No one knows what the North Korean dictator is going to do. He could ruin this. He could act in bad faith. He could continue his nuclear program. He could launch an attack. We don't know what he would do. This could all, go to pot very quickly, but it also isn't necessarily going to all go to pot. We don't know yet. That's why I would categorize this first meeting as a success. President Trump also said something interesting, Andy, that I want your take on. He was asked about his tweets from last year where he threatened Kim Jong-un. He threatened to rain down fire and fury on the North Korean dictator if he didn't cease the nuclear program. And President Trump said yesterday, and I quote, he said, "Without the rhetoric, we wouldn't have been here." So I think the rhetoric, I hated to do it, he said. Sometimes I felt foolish doing it, but we had no choice. Andy, he's essentially saying that it's not just the sanctions, but it's his tough negotiation tactics that led to this summit in the first place. Do you think that's an accurate analysis?
I thought that was pretty interesting too, Liz. I listened to that carefully. As I said before, we've tried the same sort of conventional approach with the North, and it got us to the same place. It didn't matter Republican or Democratic administration. This was a different approach, and it certainly got the North Korean dictator's attention. And I do think it's important to keep in mind, certainly the rhetoric was awfully heated last year. It was leading down a path. I was former House Intelligence Committee staffer, and I've seen the classified assessments of what could happen in the event of an escalation, and it gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. Puts a bead of sweat on your forehead when you read these assessments. So any diplomacy that gets us sort of away from that posture that's protecting U.S. national security interests, which I think is exactly what we have here, ought to be welcomed by all of us.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.